Hello and welcome to the TSM Fanhub podcast. This is episode number 3. I'm your host, Josh, and joining me today are my fellow co-hosts. We've got Brad, Chris, and Jeff. I want to start off by thanking everybody who's tuned in over the past 2 weeks. We've gotten some input. Thank you so much for those of you who are excited about this. We're excited about it and excited about growing this podcast and growing our knowledge, experience, and helping you guys stay in touch with TSM and the organization. If you guys are following us on YouTube, we got a spiffy new overlay. I hope that you enjoy that. That's just a foretaste of the amazing things to come on this podcast and in coming episodes. If you're listening on Spotify, just think of like the most beautiful marriage of visual media and artistic design coming together to form an overlay for a podcast, and that's pretty much what we've got going on YouTube. Or check us out.
Absolutely beautiful.
It's I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, so without any further ado, real briefly, we want to exist to be you guys' hub for to be your hub for as TSM fans to find out about past games that have happened and the organization and games that are coming up. We want to do analysis and talk to you about the players, the teams, and everything going on TSM. So we're going to hop into it with some announcements. The biggest news, the biggest news happening this weekend, we're going to just touch this briefly, was LCS revealed the Rookie of the Split and the Coach of the Split awards. Rookie of the Split was kind of a shoo-in for Mike Young just because everybody actually knew who he was, and he played more than 2 weeks of the regular split, so we're not going to talk about that. But Coach of the Split went to Immortals coach Song, and TSM Parth was the runner-up in second place. Briefly, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I don't have a problem with it. I think Song just was incredible. Of course, how IMT finished last year, and then they finished second, I believe, this year. So, I mean, it's clear something changed about maybe like the lifestyle of the team or the organization. But yeah, I don't have a problem with him beating Parth.
I think Parth didn't adjust his glasses enough to get Coach of the Split.
Well, when he did adjust his glasses, it was at Rift Rivals, so it didn't count.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what got him so many points.
That's his problem. Yeah. I think it's interesting if you guys listen to the Dive podcast. I know I shouldn't be repping other podcasts on here, but Parth was on 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about how the Coach of the Split award doesn't really feel that great or special at all, pretty much because nobody truly has an idea of what coaches do on LCS teams. So, I mean, it's definitely, it's a pat on the back, if nothing else. So congratulations to Song for picking that up. Congratulations for Parth for being a runner-up. I think we have seen strong improvement over the past couple of weeks from the TSM squad. If you think about if you think about last split and you also think about MSI and moving into this split, reintegrating Double Lift back into the roster, whatever part Parth has had in that movement, that forward trajectory, that's been awesome, and it's been at least somewhat recognized. So kudos to him on that. Last week we missed talking about Hearthstone. There was something going on in Hearthstone. Mm-hmm. We missed it. We're sorry. We'll try to never have that. We'll never have that happen again. No, I can't promise it. We'll never have that happen again. Brad is going to quickly fill us in with what was going on. Some stuff happened before we casted. Some stuff happened after we casted. So what was going on there, Brad?
So Cydonia is TSM's main tournament player for Hearthstone. They have Crip also. Crip mostly just streams now, though. Cydonia went to play in a Taipei major, and he started out 6-1, but he had to go through losers, and then he got knocked out in losers. He ended up going 7-2, but still lost. Yeah, he got knocked out in losers, and how he got knocked out was just kind of unlucky because for those people that don't know, like Hearthstone, right? So you get your cards, and then each card costs like a certain amount of. They're called crystals, but it's like kind of like mana for like League fans. Each card costs a certain amount of crystals to cast, and his deck consisted of like a couple sevens, some 5 like crystal worth costs to cast, and he was playing a I think it's pronounced can't pronounce it. Shaman, yeah. Yeah, okay, that. And he was playing against a mage, and anytime he would cast a spell, she would counter it. So like, she had, I think it was 4 or 5 cards out before Sidonia had like any out. So just there, the game's just gonna snowball out of control, and then he doesn't really stand a chance.
Yeah, because once you get board control, it's really hard. You need decent clear, but if you've already used all of your power that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what happens with just about any sort of card game, and like that's kind of why Hearthstone, it's a pretty decent esport, but I feel like it's a little limited because RNG is such a factor that it's just difficult to be a reliable player, essentially, because you could lose to anyone and it not be entirely your fault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is why. Oh, sorry, I was gonna say which is why Crip complains so much.
Like at the start of the game, you have a choice. Like you get 3 cards to start out with, and you have a choice like to replace those cards with other ones from your deck, but it's random. So like you could just get even worse cards, and that's what I imagine happened in this case.
Yeah. So sorry for not filling you guys in on that last week. Are there any? Does he have anything else coming up soon? No. Okay. So
he's playing in like some streamers putting together a tournament, and that's about it. But it's nothing like a major. I don't even think there's like a prize of a lot of money. So,
well, hit up his stream if you enjoy Hearthstone, you enjoy TSM. Send him some support, and all of our TSM guys need some support, especially after a loss. So hit him up, give him some love. Tell me that we sent you or something like that. I don't know. He'd be like, who the fuck? Anyway.
Yo, Josh sent me.
Yeah, Josh sent me. Yeah, he'll know. All right, so another bit of news, with the results of the C9 versus Dignitas match, the quarterfinal match in the NALCS. Because Dignitas was able to knock out C9, that means there is no way that TSM does not qualify for Worlds. They will either go as first seed or second seed, which doesn't really matter because of the results from MSI, meaning that NA has 2 Pool 2 teams instead of a Pool 1, 2, and 3 team. What are your guys' thoughts on this, and I guess what are your thoughts on implications that this could have on the World's draw and stuff like that?
All of this doesn't matter if SKT beats Longju, because then SKT gets first seed coming out of Korea, and no matter what, there's a possibility of us playing them. But if they lose, then they come as the second seed, and then we don't have to play them until playoffs. And that is the hope, because we do not want to meet them right now. That's not true?
No, because so there's 4 seed 1 teams, there's 8 seed 2 teams, and then 4 seed 3. So we could still get into their group because they're going to be 2 seed 2 teams in every group. If they keep drafting like they have the past 2 years or something like that.
Is it really 2 seed 2? I thought okay.
Yeah. So weird things can happen as they draft that, because on the other seed 2 or whatever, the seed 1 and seed 2 team from NA could get drafted, and then if the other NA team gets drafted into that same group, then they have to jump forward.
Oh,
I know that happens.
That's what. Okay, no, that's what I was thinking. But still,
so
we would have more of a likely, I guess. But I would just want to avoid SKT as much as possible. Yeah, that is the goal.
The way I see it, we've gotten. Last year we had a manageable group and we didn't do that well, but I feel like in the past TSM has gotten dealt a pretty tricky hand. I mean, it is Worlds. It is 16 of technically the best teams in the world, or
Yeah.
at least 16 of the top 25 best teams in the world showing up. So you're going to be in a difficult group. Yeah, I hope we don't get SKT, but if we do get SKT, I hope we get 2 easy teams so we can slide out second in that group.
I just want
I
an
mean, I'm of the
H2K group.
opinion. Okay, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go.
Okay, I'm of the opinion that for a team like TSM, the goal is to be the best. Like, if you want to avoid SKT, then that's not like trying to be the best team that you can possibly be. Because if you really do, and maybe obviously this is overreaching a lot because we're just lowly North Americans, but if you really do want to be the best, you shouldn't want to avoid anyone. You should want to be in a group with SKT. You should want to be in a group with Longzhou. You should want to be against these teams who beating them is a big deal.
This is what I would say about that is, yes, I want to be the best, but if I only have to be the best in one best of 5 and not multiple best of 1s as well as best of 5s, then you know what? I'll take that. If I can get
True.
a TSM skin off of playing out of my mind against SKT in the finals, like yeah, I'll take it. Of course I'll take them, stomping the whole tournament. But I mean, yeah, we live in a world where that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I'm talking from an idealist standpoint.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's not too bad to be an idealist sometimes.
Oh, it's definitely not. I'm down with that. Sweet. So actually, does anyone else have anything to say about that? I know we'll come back around and talk about playoffs, NALCS playoffs implications, but anybody have anything else about world seeding, anything like that?
I'm with Jeff. I really don't want to avoid SKT. Like, I'm okay with facing them early to show that you're the best. Like, if TSM beats SKT, yeah. Hey, we can.
Yeah, they're subbing us in.
They don't want to win too much. If TSM beats SKT, other teams are going to take note and then be like, "Uh-oh, maybe we actually have to prepare against these guys." And then they don't want, even if it is a fluke, like they don't want to make mistakes in order to have TSM beat them. But yeah, either way,
yeah,
I'm indifferent with the group draw. I don't really care.
If anything else, it just excites me for Worlds. It's coming, baby, and we're going. So.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to live in fear this weekend that we might not, or we might have to make a gauntlet run. Which, by the way, if TSM had to make a gauntlet run, that would scare me. Anyway,
that'll never happen.
So moving on a little bit, kind of hitting on something that affected the league community and a little bit the. If you guys can't tell, Chris is getting warmed up here. We're gonna call this section of the podcast Chris goes on a rant. We're gonna try to make it a weekly occurrence. So C9 lost the game, and during I believe it was the 4th game, it could have been the 3rd game, I forget exactly which. C9 had a pause for Jensen, who, as far as with as much information as I have, he had to leave the stage because of a panic attack. During that time, they let the rest of the players take a bathroom break if necessary. Also over in Europe, Trick needed a bathroom break, and Mithy forced a pause, pretty much demanded that he be given a bathroom break. And a thread came up on Reddit talking about how bathroom breaks are the worst thing to happen to competitive league. Chris, take it away.
All right. Okay. Let me preface this right off the bat. Last week, I told the Melee community to take themselves more seriously. League community, get off your goddamn high horse and realize that, guess what? We all play video games and we're all fucking human. Okay. After that, These are ridiculous, and I mean ridiculous posts over here on Reddit. You're freaking out because Trick, we should be memeing Trick and making fun of him for drinking 3 bottles of water a game, then getting mad at him saying that, oh, the integrity of the game is going to go to shit because people are trying to cheat all the time. Okay, I'll tell you this right now. Out of all these guys, and if you've ever been a competitor of any sport or anything possible, the last thing you want to be called is a fucking cheater, especially when you want to win something big. Ask Barry Bonds. Ask Sammy Sosa, ask Mark McGuire. They have asterisks around their name right now. So, after that, why do you think, you really think that this is going to become a problem? And if you guys were paying attention, that if you read the actual thing afterwards, the refs were actually fighting about it the whole time. They were going back and forth, and apparently Trick had to ask for a pause before the game started to use the bathroom. They said no. After his second bottle of water, I heard from Coach Youngbuck afterwards, which why is Trick drinking 3 bottles of water a game? I don't know, but
Thirsty boy.
apparently, I don't know.
Gotta fuel up.
And then during the game, he had to pee so bad, he died intentionally, and then Mithy again died while he was pausing the game. And if you've ever had to pee really fucking bad, take a nice long trip, drink a nice big old Arizona, and sit in a car for like 3 fucking hours, and try to hold your piss. I fucking dare, yeah, and try to drive. I fucking dare you, because it's fucking distracting. I would rather piss in a bottle while trying to drive and get my relief than trying to drive while having to pee. That is ridiculous, and if you guys want to call that cheating, go watch another fucking sport, or go in your corner with everybody else and start complaining, because I want to watch League and not bitch about it. Okay, Jensen, get off of Jensen's back, dude. Please, like, I love the kid, and I get it. He fucks up all the damn time, and I even memed him last week, okay? I was the first person to meme him saying that he has to win next week, because the timeline is that he always loses in the semifinals, and he has to fuck it up. I didn't realize how much that affected him until this week when Homeboy was sitting, watch his player cams before the last game. Homeboy was fidgetier than, like, he couldn't sit still. He was biting his fingernails. You could visibly tell that he was nervous, like, more nervous than any of the rest of the C9 members. And on top of it, too, if you were watching Sneaky's stream with Bjergsen, the AMA, Bjergsen memed him so fucking hard during that AMA that you know Jensen was watching it. And it was right before his game, and Sneaky the whole time didn't even stick up for him once. He just laughed along, and you know mentally that's gonna fuck with somebody. So I don't blame the kid for freaking out when you're in the final game and you're like, oh shit, this is on me. Everyone's looking at me. I'm supposed to be the MVP, and he freaks the fuck out and has to puke on stage. I'm sorry. I'd rather him go puke in the toilet than on himself, and I would love to see Jensen come back next spring, and actually play for C9 than be embarrassed because a bunch of people wanted to call for his fucking head on Reddit or made him want to put him in an awkward situation. Tire this shit. We need to get off our high horse and realize that, guess what? These guys are entertainment. Okay, we tune in every week. If you don't like it, stop fucking watching. It's that simple. Because I know personally, I don't care if there's a pause in the middle if it's for the players' well-being, because I want to watch these players go all the way through franchising. I want to see I honestly would love to see some of these C9 guys, our TSM dudes, continue to see the love from the kitty, and I want to see Double Lift and Jensen fight off 5 years down the line when they're older and they're more intelligent. They might not be reactive, but I want to see the strategy go down the line in the game. So before we start memeing them a little bit too hard or trying to be all like, oh, realize that we're here for them and not for you. There's a reason why they're the professionals and you're the one sitting behind your keyboard on freaking Reddit. And on top of it too, I would love to transition to this into Vis's chat too, after this stupid game that I heard that people were sitting there complaining about, oh, he's playing too passive and do this and do that. Homeboy plays 12 hours a day, guys. He can play passive some games, and some games he pops off and gets 23 kills. Watch his YouTube channel. If you want to be entertained, there's his highlights. If you want to see good gameplay and get your questions answered and not be a dick, watch his channel.
God damn.
That's like a solid 3-5 minutes there.
I gotta say, as a psychology major, I don't think people realize the negative effects of what we say in general has on people, especially in high pressure environments. Streaming, well, it's your career, that makes it a high pressure environment in its own way. You are nervous that you aren't being the streamer that you can be and things like that. Obviously, for a player like Jensen, when you're expected, he has never been a champion ever, which is kind of amazing to think considering how high caliber of a player he is. But you can tell that all this negative feedback on him has really held him back and has really hurt him as a person, let alone as a player. Like, I really do think that it's important that we not only take into account that all of these players are people, whether no matter what game they're playing, no matter what setting it is. A lot of the things that people are saying, you would never say that to someone face to face, no matter what. I don't give a shit what kind of person it is. Like, Jensen's a little scrawny dude. You wouldn't say shit to him like face to face because it's terrible things to say as a person. So I think that we really need to take into account these things because if we keep bashing players like Jensen like this so much, then maybe he doesn't play for much longer, which would suck. That would be terrible.
Yeah. Brad, did you want to say something?
I was gonna go back on the topic of like bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
If that's okay. Okay.
Go for it.
Well, like that happens in regular like sports too. Like you'll see all the time in like hockey or football or even baseball. Like players go down the tunnel, and then the announcers speculate on what's going on, and then they come back. Like it's obvious what they had to do. Like
Dude,
like
soccer players take a knee. Just
just right
make
there.
sure not many people can see you. Whip it out. Get your business done. Get back and play.
It happens in football too. Well, American football. I guess they're both technically football. Anyway, that's all. I just wanted to like Chris said, like they're humans. Like what do you expect?
Yeah.
Yeah, drink 3 bottles of water and go drive for a while. Go tell me how well you can concentrate.
Yeah. I think a couple things with this whole, like, obviously Reddit is always going to be Reddit. Reddit's always going to be armchair analysis, and to an extent, I mean, we're the same thing. I just think about like what Jeff was saying. Think about what you're saying, because it's like, there have been times. I mean, just think about TSM for example. There have been times in TSM Legends where the team goes back after a set, and you can, if you're looking at their phones, Bjergsen hops on the TSM subreddit immediately. Like don't think that they don't see what you're saying when you call for Sven to be benched for a season and a half. Like, yeah, I'm calling you all out. And yeah, so that's an issue. And another thing with like bathroom breaks and stuff like that is do you want to see like these professional players playing at like 75%, or do you want to see them playing at their top ability? Like, you answer me that. If you want to see them playing at 75%, then petition Riot to bring back like the challenger games that they used to have in the client. Like, that's all you need, I guess. Yeah. If you want to see the top players in this game in North America competing against each other at their best, then give them give them a bathroom break. Like, it's not that hard of an equation to solve.
I had to wait 5 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, and with Viss's Twitch chat, that's just such an obnoxious thing. So for those of you who don't have context, I don't know, someone probably clipped it somewhere. Pretty much, he was playing. They were playing a game. Smack went down. I might not have all these names correct. I think Smack went down early. So it was Viss, AMPR, and Break. They were swimming across from military base to the main island to get inside the circle. AIM and Break got up on the beach underneath the bridge, and Viss was off of them a little bit, still in the water, and they got flanked. AIM and Break got flanked, and so Viss stayed in the water. He was watching. There was another guy in the water, and he just stayed in the water and pretty much waited that guy out. That guy got killed, and then 3 guys, which was all that was left in the game, and they were on one squad, came, and so he got out of the water, went for the glory play, got killed immediately, and people started flaming him for not being entertaining and not playing the game well and telling him how to play and all of this stuff. And at some point it's just like he finally broke and he just snapped at them, which like I agree. It's like people are showing up to his stream to watch him play, and if you don't like it, just leave. Like, and he would say, I mean, he said the exact same thing. Like, if you're not getting entertained by him playing, just leave, because the way that he's playing the game is it has to do, like, if you're going to get mad at somebody for not being entertaining, get mad at the people who are putting on the PUBG tournaments who can't figure out how to score a game, because the reason he's just sitting in the water trying to get a high ranking is because that's what gets you points. And he wants to get paid at this tournament that he's going to, 4 days after he's streaming this, and he wants to get money. So, like, who cares if he's entertaining to you? Go watch like Grims, or go watch, Dr. Disrespect if you want entertainment. Like, I'm not saying those guys are bad at the game, because they're amazing at the game, but Vis is practicing for a tournament where he's got to be an integral part of a squad. They're relying on him to do his best to get the best results for them, and that's what he's doing. And so, like, mad props to Vis for calling those people out, and just watch what you guys say, because y'all are idiots. And it's I don't know if it's TSM fans or just other people dropping by a stream, but
I think part of it has to do with every time there's a new game like PUBG, there's people who are new to competitive level gaming. So I think at least a part of it has to do with that.
Yeah, well, because it's the same exact thing when you think about the classic, probably like season 3, season 4, how people used to say like SKT was too systematic, and SKT was a Monty's team because they would systematically dismantle you, and everyone was like, oh, that's boring though, because they're going to take turret 1, they're going to push this, and then when you try to go this way, they're going to counter you this way, and they're slowly just going to choke you out of objectives, and it might be a 30-40 minute game, but they're going to end up winning. If you want to put in context like that, people had to get used to that also. And like what Josh was saying with the whole PUBG thing, that's how PUBG is set up. You can it's called a survival game. Survival. I will make that sure that everybody knows that, because at the end of the day, it's all about the winner winner chicken dinner. All right. It don't matter if you have 15 kills to 1 kill. We found that out today. If you watch solos, it don't matter, because our boy Bray got, we'll get into that, but it don't matter about the kills. It's all about the winner winner chicken dinner at the end of the day. Just saying.
If you're getting the W, you're getting the W.
Yeah, I think as PUBG as an esport kind of evolves and grows, stuff like that will be addressed, and that's actually a great segue into the next thing. Today was day 1 of Gamescom, and in Germany. Our PUBG squad is there right now. Today was third-person solos. Just real quickly, Break ended the day with so it's 3 matches, and you get scored based on your rank, and you get 5 points per kill. Break ended the day with 16 kills. He won round 1, and then didn't have as high of finishes in round 2 and 3, but ended second on the day. And then Vis ended the day with only 3 kills. He got second, I believe it might have been third in. He got third place in round 2, and had overall decent finishes. Ended up 10th on the day, and I think there was about 74 people playing that. PR and Smack didn't have as good of days, and so. So I mean, first off, for those of you who watched, what did you think of like how they played? How was their gameplay?
Let's go Break. Break by the end of the tournament is going to be a fan favorite. I'm calling it right now. He's going to single-handedly win us rounds for squads. Calling it right now. I think he's going to have a really good tournament. The last round, I was impressed by TSM because I want to say the third to the last circle, Smack, Vis, and AIM were all in the third to the final circle, which that was impressive from those 3, since Break was kind of quote unquote, if you want to say that, carrying the team squad wise through the solos. Because AIM PR was getting out pretty early. Also Smack was too. Who knows?
Smack had a really unfortunate game too. He rolled right up into
Evermore.
Gosh, Evermore. Like Evermore was just like chilling outside of a building, and Smack rolls up, doesn't realize he's there, pops out of the car. Evermore just pops him once in the head, and it's like
Yeah.
of all of the houses, of course this one has a guy named. Anyways, what were you saying, Chris?
Also, part of the tournament too, if you want to see a cool interview at the very end of Break's first round win, super like if you want to be proud of our boys, he had a great interview, super humble about it. Gave Dr. Disrespect kind of a meme shout out. Gave respect to our boys at the end when he was asked the question, who would you rather not face? He was like, obviously my boys. And he did specify too within solos. There's a lot of RNG, obviously. So he was like, "Dude, honestly, I won because of luck, because the circles." And he vividly pointed that out multiple times, which is something to think about when you're thinking about the whole competitive scene right now. And I know a lot of developers are watching Twitter and Reddit and wanting to see feedback from the community. So if you want to give constructive criticism, there might be ways for you to make sure that yourself is heard, as long as you're not talking out of only one hole and not both. Okay, I'm pointing to my ass over here. Not both holes, the only one. The one up here, guys.
In case anyone didn't realize.
Yes.
Yeah. For our Spotify listeners or whatever, our SoundCloud listeners out there, that's what's going on.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I gotta say,
Yeah.
as someone who I don't play PUBG, I'm not someone who has money, so I can't buy games very often. So
What is money?
yeah, exactly. So as someone who's only played it once or twice, like essentially at friends' houses and things like that, I actually thought it was super entertaining to watch. A lot of people have been talking about the spectator client not being that great. From an outsider view, obviously it could be better, but like it's not to the level of something like CS:GO, but it was really, really fun to watch, like as a tournament in general. Like the casting was pretty solid, especially for an early game. It was just fun gameplay to watch from someone who barely knows the game. So that's like the budding of a good esport, I think.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a rant, not Chris's rant time, but I've got a little bit of a rant going because I was watching, and honestly, I was pretty disappointed in the spectator client. Now, I understand there's a caveat, and that is this was the first like big tournament that wasn't like a practice tournament. I understand that. This was ESL, so I understand that. No, and so I understand that PUBG, it's young, they're still getting things together, but even if you took away all the issues with lag and sound issues while watching the spectator client, you still just like the camera work. It's just really unclear what's going on. If it's not, if the commentators aren't talking to it, camera ops moving, like whoever was operating the camera moving away from action, like as it's going down. The end of game 2 was atrocious because like the sixth place person got killed, and then their "Hey, you want to quit the match" thing came up, and they clicked yes, and then they got off. So I'm a video director, like that's my job, and so like that you should be all over that. That shouldn't be something new. I understand you're monitoring like 74 players at the same time, and that's like a ton to take in, but that will get smoothed out. But I think one of the biggest things that I think would help, and this would be only in the spectator client, is if they added tracer rounds in the spectator client, because a lot of times the camera's zooming around and you see two guys like standing next to each other, and then one guy falls over. So you can like infer what's going on, but I think it'd be nice if there's tracer rounds only in the spectator client, so you could actually see where like bullets are flying. Stuff like it. You can tell when there's a firefight and when people are just peeking. That's my big thing about like the spectator thing. I hope that gets better. I hope it gets better as the week goes on, but it was really jumpy, hard to laggy. It was a lot better than the tournament that happened a week ago where like textures weren't loading forever when they jumped onto a player cam and there'd be like nothing there.
Just
And
the model.
anyways,
Yeah.
the biggest problem I have, and I think the thing that needs the most attention, is the scoring system. So if any of you guys didn't watch, pretty much what happened was you had Evermore, who, to his credit, played the system perfectly, I guess. And like, PUBG is a game of survival, and that's what he did. He survived. He played the strat where you get a ton of meds, med packs and bandages, first aid kits, all that stuff, and you just sit out in the blue, healing yourself up, waiting for a turn, just waiting. So when you do move, more people are dead, so that when you move, if you do die, you end up with a higher rank. The third game is what a lot of people are getting mad about, and pretty much what happened was he didn't really see any other players that whole game. I mean, he saw a few, but he went way up to the north. The circle shifted south. He looted for a while, spent pretty much 75 to 85% of the game in the blue. Actually, he probably ended up spending 95% of that game in the blue, because he came down, got up on the military base island, then fell in between two rocks and got stuck there. And literally from about 30 people left, just meted until there was 8 people left, and then he finally died to the blue. And because of that finish, he got first place over break. I think they need to look at the scoring system. They need to look at how much kills are worth, and how much placement is worth, and kind of fixing those things. He ended the tournament first. He did win round 2, but he only got 4 kills in the entire tournament, whereas someone like Break, who also won a round, got 16 kills throughout the entire tournament. If you're getting 12 more kills than the first place person and you win a round, that sounds like you should be a shoe-in winner for the tournament. So I've talked for a while. What are you guys' thoughts on scoring changes, and just kind of like the format for this?
Promotion of aggressive gameplay is a very good idea for just about any esport. It's going to get more people to watch it, and it's going to essentially be a healthier game, because if proactivity is what's most important in a game, then I think that that's the best way to showcase a player's individual ability.
Yeah, like I don't think Evermore, I mean, like you said, he didn't do anything wrong. It just wasn't that entertainment like that you would get from a streamer or like a YouTuber. But like, again, that's not something you look for in competitive. Like you don't see those YouTube stars being the same as the actual professional stars. So I really think they're gonna have to look at the scoring somehow, because like everyone's been saying, kills are like criminally underrated. So let's see, I don't know when the next tournament would be, but I'd be surprised if they didn't switch it by then. But again, that's just my opinion.
There's 2 things that I think that can happen that can help this out. They equal out the scores so both strategies can be viable, because I'm totally, if anybody knows me, you see me on Reddit, I have the Break Potato as my little flair thing. I'm a huge Break Boy fan. Totally love the aggression. He had 11 kills the first round. I loved it. If you saw the Discord when I watched the first game, I was like, holy shit, like this was amazing. Like if you watch this, like I was blowing up, being a little fanboy, all that fun stuff. But there needs to be a yin to the yang with this, and I enjoyed Evermore's strategy because it brought that whole not mindless attitude to the game, which that's what it needs also. So if they could bring the scoring up to a viable standard of where Break can get 16 kills, win a round, and maybe get like where he got, I think, like, what was it, like 4th one time, and then there was like he got one like 15th or something, and still win because he had 16 kills over an Evermore that only had 4, then yes, I think that would be at a good spot. The other way you can combat this, and I've been chanting it since the first day I saw it, first person mode. First person mode. You want aggression so people can't peek around dumb corners. That is the one thing that bugged me about this whole thing. Yes, third person, that's what you're supposed to do. I don't know how many times I watched a guy his character model staring at a fucking wall. A wall! And he was peeking around like he could see shit like if he was in real life, and no, you can't do that. And if you want to stop that, you got to put it in first person, or where people were. I remember, if just watch the final Break fight. There you go. That's the epitome of it right there. Break was sitting behind a tree or behind a rock, while the other guy was sitting behind a tree, and both of them were just third person screen peeking. If that was first person, they would have to, like, peek out, throw a grenade, peek out again, peek in, and then the game would have been more entertaining even from that standpoint. But I don't know when that's gonna happen.
I don't know if changing to first person would necessarily change the macro decisions that Evermore made, and especially he had a very like loner, get far away from everybody approach, and that I think that definitely worked, and I think that would still work in a first person mode. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Third person, I think, definitely helps him out, because there was a couple times where he just hard camped a building for minutes on end. Like, if you were to watch his, I mean, I don't know if he streamed, but if you were to watch his first person view, you would have a very boring day. And again, you're here to win, and you're not here to.
He walked away with 15K, by the way, guys. For anybody who wants to bitch about him, he walked away with 15. So
and that's where I'm not mad at him. I'm mad that what he did was able to help him win, and that's something that PUBG and tournament organizers need to figure out. Like, how do you stop that from being a winning strat if that's the way they want to take their game? If they want their game to be like, hey man, he survived, so he played the game well, that's the direction you want to take your game. But I think that will really hurt it as an esport, because people come for those gunfights, people come for flanking strats and, busting down doors in a house to try to root out the enemy. And if the game turns into everybody sits in a bush and just hopes that the circle spawns on them, which you can totally do in third person, like, if that's the type of game you enjoy, have at it. But I just don't think that that's going to gain much ground. Brad?
Question. Yeah. This is a question for you guys. Do you think when people see like his success doing this kind of like passive play style, do you think it's going to make more players do it? Because I mean, if I see some guy take home 15K, then I'll do that. I don't care. Give me the money.
I think, just real briefly for me, because I talk a lot. I think that it'll change a little bit. I don't think you can do that strategy as a duo or a squad. I don't think it will work as well, just because of the nature of having one person. It's a lot easier to just be concealed and sit in a location. As also, squads can be a lot more aggressive in the way that they approach buildings, and even in third person mode, you can be a lot more aggressive in how you approach a building, and stuff like that. And so I don't think that strat will necessarily carry over into the duos and the squads. But yes, if scoring isn't changed, I think most definitely you will see a ton more people adopting the grab a boat, sit out in the blue for a long time, med up, and just wait until you're, top 20 and then go in. What are you guys' thoughts, Jeff and Chris?
Me personally, I think that there's going to be more people going to that strat, but then it always just comes down to, you're going to have to rely on your gunplay and your aggression, because at the end of the day, the circle gets smaller and everyone's got to meet someday. And the only reason why I guess Evermore's strategy, I personally think, worked was because there was a mixture of people like Break, and then there were people kind of like him also. So then the people that wanted to fight it out, they fought it out. And then the people that wanted to sit out. But if everybody starts doing that, then that's just going to turn that whole game into who's going to get the best loot, how fast are they going to get it, and when they all meet, who's going to hit their shots and who's going to miss. And I honestly, if everyone's going to do it, fine then. I'd rather see it that way, and I would love to see a sniper fight come down. Like, everybody just coming in from all sides and meeting in the middle. If I have to wait like 15 minutes into a game to watch a shit show, I'm down for that. I love clown fiestas. So I would be down for that, but then everybody has to do it. The mixture thing is where we have to decide, okay, do we make it even? Like, can it be like, if you have 20 plus kills and win one round, you should be able to win the tournament. But if you, let's say you have 4 kills, but you win 2 rounds, or you win 1 round and you get top 4 the next 2 rounds, then yeah, you should win the tournament, because that you're going down to the final circles or whatever, and you're still surviving for the most part. But there was like 1 round where he was like, yeah, that second round where he met the C9 guy out in by the spawn island, and he got killed like 30th. Yeah, that should have completely knocked him out of intention. Me personally thinking that, because then him getting a 1, 20, and then 8 and still winning, that's ridiculous. With 4 kills, like, come on, man.
Yeah, with no kills to show for the
Yeah.
game. Like, I think it'd be interesting to see how many rounds he fired in the entire event. like to be honest.
The stat team, get on that. That'd be great.
That team, man, and that's one thing. We're so spoiled with League because there aren't just like really huge like stats that we can watch all that. I wish there were. Jeff, do you have anything briefly, because we do need to move on?
Yeah, I think as people get to know the game, if being passive becomes a very dominant strat, then I don't think it's uncounterable. I think people are going to start looking in places they don't normally look, because they're going to learn the map better. They're going to learn all these behaviors, and basically the best places to be. That essentially it's the same thing as warding, where if you ward somewhere where people don't normally check, they're not going to find it.
Banana brush OP.
Exactly. So apply that logic to hiding in bushes in PUBG. Eventually people will start looking at these bushes and people will start getting found. So it's going to force aggressiveness instead of passivity over time, eventually.
Yeah. I wanna just add a little disclaimer. Yes, I understand that Evermore did get stuck in that last game. He didn't intend, as far as we could tell, he didn't intend to get stuck in between those rocks. I don't know if that really changed his overall plan. Like, he may have still just stayed in the blue anyway.
It's a happy accident.
Yeah, it was a happy accident. It worked out really well for him. So
Well,
I guess congrats to him for getting first and getting 15G. So let's move on. The other 2 things that happened this weekend, if you've been following us for our long and storied history of the past 2 weeks, you would have heard the woes of Leffen and Zero. And to bring you some more news on Leffen and Zero, we're going to start with let's start with Zero. He was at the SRC Saga tournament and got first, boys.
Finally
so
took a tournament
TSM.
home.
Yeah. Jeff and Chris, or Brad, if you watched, what are your thoughts on his play and breaking the second place streak that he's had for a little bit?
So I was super excited because a tournament where you run through winners is always cool to watch. It is so cool to see people going on these winning streaks. And the fact that he had to play through Larry Lurr, he had to play through MK Leo twice, who I think beat him in the last one. It was just so cool to see him be able to come back from this sort of slump that he's been on these last 2 tournaments, where he hasn't been able to beat these ridiculously high level players in finals. So grand finals, that is. So I don't know. I think it's just great to see him sort of coming back from that.
I was thoroughly impressed. I'm happy to see him win. Let's just say I found out while watching this grand finals, I wish it was a Nero and Zero final every tournament, because when it's a Cloud, and it's just the same exact gripe I have whenever like the Peaches come out in Melee or Jigglypuffs, like the Spaceys and all that fun stuff. It's just sometimes it's really slow and hard to watch because they're waiting for that opportune moment, and then it's like 100-0. Where if you watch someone like play like Diddy Kong, it's fun to watch them because they have to, like, you slowly get percentages and you fight back and forth. It's like an old Dragon Ball Z style. Someone takes a couple hits, the other person takes a couple hits. So like, and you get to watch them go back and forth. I just it was a good finals. I'm really happy to see Zero win. I think he showed that he could adjust to a different style, going from playing Nero and then playing Leo in this grand finals, obviously going from a super high pace to kind of like charge your limit, 100-0, spike him, all that fun stuff. So it was fun to watch him, but someone can help me, maybe I can watch some other guy that will get me excited a little bit more for Smash 4 so I can appreciate the Spaceys when they happen, because it was a rough game to watch for me. It was definitely.
I mean, hey, it's funny to me that you bring up Dragon Ball Z, because one thing I remember watching when I watched Dragon Ball Z was one guy going far away and then going to get really, really powerful.
I watched the Japanese version
every single game. That's what Cloud does.
That's
literally
true.
every single match. So I
That
think no
is
matter what.
that is
Yeah.
a true statement.
Oh,
Wow.
man. Sweet. Leffen was at the Air 4 tournament. Jeff, you want to explain that a little bit and tell us how he did?
I mean, he won. I mean, what more can you ask for? It wasn't as huge of an amount of competition as, for example, SmashCon or GOML. There were none of the gods there. He won in the finals and grand finals against S2J, and basically it was a very high-level tournament, and I think it's one of the first times I've seen him come back from 0-2 in a set in a long time, because that is not something you see Leffen do very often, and in winners finals that's what he did. He managed to pull that off. I was nervous because watching that last stock on Finals Destination in winners finals game 2, I was like grabbing the edges of my seat. I was like scared because it was going nuts.
It was 147 Leffen stock to SUJ's 116% stock at that last one before he won, by the way. I marked that down because I was impressed too. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But so yeah, my thing is that if you want to see good melee, the winners finals, not grand finals. Grand finals was good. Yes, grand finals was good too. But watch winners finals, because Leffen has been notoriously bad against Falcos, or not Falcos, Falcons. Sorry, that's a big difference, by the way.
Yeah.
So I messed that up.
Gigantic.
Not Falco, Falcons. He's had troubles with them. I know none, which is going to be in the next tournament. We'll talk about Smash later, but Shine later. But he has always had problems with Falcon, so it's nice to see him versus S2J also, because S2J has been on the rise and has been getting better as a Falco. But yeah, that set right there, if you want to watch a fun set, like, dude, that was a really good set, the winners finals. Grand finals was cool too. Leffen just kind of went into God mode. He was just like, all right, guys, I'm back. This controller's actually working, and I'm going to show you guys that I can play. So, hey, and these tournament organizers too did it well. You know, they've spaced out the
they
top
listen
8.
to you, man.
I know, right?
They listen to you.
And the cool part too. One second. Cool part.
Yeah, no,
anytime you guys want to watch, go to the very end after he wins. They're playing against S2J and they're chanting USA. And as soon as Leffen wins, then they start chanting TSM, and then they make Leffen drink a giant beer, and he gets halfway and almost pukes. It's pretty funny.
So this was definitely, we've seen Leffen go through, I mean, he won Get On My Level. That was awesome. But then we saw him kind of in a really rough spot last weekend. Controller issues, bad tournament organization, just hard matchups, hard fought sets that, that he ended up losing. This was a great bounce back. Does this at all mean that Leffen is, I don't want to say tilt proof necessarily, but tilt adverse? Is this a good thing from Leffen to see this? Do we need to see more of him coming off hard losses and going into this? I know none of the gods were there, but what does this mean going forward?
I think it helped it was in Europe. I think it's a big thing that he still stays in Sweden, because our motto right now, if you haven't noticed, besides last week's tournament, because it was in Europe, he's been gone from the last couple tournaments, and he's going to be, hint, hint, wink, wink, gone at Shine next week also. So I think that's going to be, I think that helps, and on top of it too, he's getting older, and he's starting to... One person that he's been getting to a liking to whenever he does come over to the States, he stays over his house and practices a lot, is Mango. And Mango has dealt with the same exact issues Leffen has, the really, really big highs and then the really, really lows. That's why Mango is the god and also the buster of Melee. And I think that friendship is a good thing for Leffen, because then he can see how to equalize that out, because out of all of that, Mango's a pretty tilt-proof person. He's pretty happy-go-lucky. So I think that put that with age, having better friends around him, I think a tournament in Europe was good for him to put under his belt, and now he has to reset and he gets to play a big tournament of Shine this weekend. I think he's got a good fighting chance. I think he's at least top 8 easy.
Well, yeah, that's a perfect moving on to Shine coming up this weekend. Both Leffen and Zero are going to be there. So you think he's going to finish top 8? Jeff, what are your thoughts on how he's rebounded in his tournament this weekend?
I think that basically looking at the lineup right now, obviously a shit ton of fucking strong players. The only god that isn't there is Armada, who, let's face it, he could still be there. He hasn't announced it or anything yet, but he could. But like, I don't know. I feel like while this is a very good tournament win for mentality, and that's certainly going to be helpful, I also think that this is a tournament that was a tournament he should have been expected to win. So I do think that he's going to be coming in with a winning mentality and things like that. And I think that he's certainly going to be able to take series off of gods and everything like that. Do I think he's going to win this tournament? No, I don't. I think Mango is looking too strong right now. I think Hungrybox is looking way too strong right now. I think he's going to, I agree, top 8. I think he's going to finish above Mewtwo King and possibly above Mango. I don't think he's going to go above Hungrybox.
I think Mango too, because Mango announced on a stream today that if he makes top 8, he's getting plastered drunk and trying to beat everybody to prove that he's the best. So
oh, true.
I think Leffen hopefully can beat drunk Mango. Hopefully, if Mango runs through 8s drunk, then that dude really is a god. I don't know how he does it.
I mean, hey, dude, Mango has won tournaments hungover as well. So.
I don't know how he does it, but
he's just a god.
Yeah.
And then also Zero's going to be at the same tournament, obviously playing Smash 4. What are your thoughts? He's gaining momentum. He's had 2 second place tournaments the past couple of weekends. Now he's coming off of a first place win. How is he looking going into this tournament?
I hope he wins. I hope it's him and Nero and Zero final again. Or Nairo. I hope it's that one again. It was really fun to watch. I don't know. Someone could help me out in the comments and like give me a set where the Smash 4 was just like amazing, where it wasn't like one Spacey and then Diddy Kong trying to fight each other. Like, please give me that. That would be sweet, because I'll watch it hands down and try to give the best analysis I can, but sometimes it's rough. It's definitely rough because it's a lot slower than Melee.
Yeah, it really is. But I gotta say, I want Nero, okay? Because he just beat MKLeo. I just want him to take down Nero so he can like get those the 2 tournaments before the most recent one out of his head completely and shut up anyone who thinks that he isn't as good. I think he should. I really want to see a Nero final because I just want to see him beat him. I really want to see him beat him.
Can respect that, yeah.
Sweet. Coming up also this next, well, actually in the next couple of days, I don't know exactly when this episode is going to drop. We are recording Wednesday night. We've got PUBG duos. There's going to be a 3rd person as well as a 1st person duos. Yes. And then there's going to be 3rd person squads. So I think it's, unless I'm wrong, I think it's going to be Vis and Smack, and then Aim and Break are going to be together. For those are going to be the duo teams. Definitely watch that. That's going to be, I think, again, as I was saying, I think that will get rid of some of the passivity, especially moving into first person mode. But then 3rd person squads is kind of like the marquee event at Gamescom for PUBG. One thing that I wanted to bring up before we, kind of go into predictions. I mean, there's not many tournaments to think about in the past to predict off of, but one thing I want to bring up is the communication, as this is kind of like a grassroots, maybe not grassroots, but definitely a fledgling esport. We get to see inside of it in ways that we don't get to see inside League of Legends. So because the TSM boys aren't all in a house together, we get to, as they're streaming, we get to see their communication in game. One thing that I see as a potential issue is they have this as kind of the captain and the lead shot caller, and Smack and Break go along with what he say 90% of the time and kind of just follow orders. And small side trail, I think Smack is best when someone else is telling him what to do. No offense to the guy. I think he is an amazing player. I think he is amazing long range player. But if he can just kind of follow somebody and play under somebody, I think he does amazing. Which means, hey, duos. But the problem I have is with Aim PR. Aim PR, at least from what I've watched of the stream, I watched a lot of Vis, or I guess all of them playing over last week, and Aim PR likes to go against the grain. So Vis will make a call like, Break, go check that loot out up there. The 3 of us are going to stay here. AMPR is like, all right, I'm coming with you, break. And it's little things. Maybe they don't matter. You know, maybe it works out. I know there was one clip of all four. It was 4v1. It was the four TSM guys at the end of a game against one guy in a squad, and that one guy killed all four of them. And it was really the communication. Just Vis said one thing, the other guys, you know, AMPR just started moving towards the building. Nobody really called when they were flanking so that the other guys could, you know, have cover, move up and cover. And it was really miscommunication, which lost them that match. That concerns me a little bit going into squads. I don't know if that's something that they've worked on. I really hope that they can nail down and just have a shot caller who the guy makes a call, Vis makes a call, and everybody follows in line. If they die, then they can go back to that call and say, okay, how do we make this call better? And they don't have to worry about, well, maybe that, you know, if somebody makes a call and it's the wrong call, but somebody doesn't follow that call, you don't know if it's the call that's wrong or if it's the player not following the call that made the mistake. And so I think that that's a big issue, and I hope that that's fixed with squads coming up. I don't know if you guys have been watching streams, stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that before we get into predictions?
Yeah, I think in just about anything, having a leader is ridiculously important. What you were saying about sometimes you can't know if the wrong call is the wrong call until everyone does it, is on the same page. And on that same note, not only that, but sometimes the wrong call works. Sometimes the wrong call gets read wrong by the other team and it just ends up working because everyone committed to it. So I think having a strong voice that everyone listens to and everyone, essentially the high of the team, essentially, would be super helpful.
Yeah.
I think that duos is going to show who's the stronger shot caller, because Smack and Break are obviously the two that are just going to be like, all right, let's try it, because they're down for anything, because if they lose, obviously, both of them don't care if they lose. They know that there's just going to be failures with it. I think Vis and Marcus definitely take it a little bit more on their shoulders, where they're like, crap, this is my fault, or they feel like if they lose that they have to do something once they get out of that. And I think maybe duos will show who's better shot caller in kind of a roundabout way, because you know Marcus is going to be calling
I think it's Maurice, but I might be wrong as well.
Okay, well, AIM PR, there we go, so I don't mess up his name. AIM PR, if because Break could win a duos by himself, I think so. If he plays his blue strat like he did last time, but I think that it will be a TSM boys against each other versus in one of the rounds finals. I'm gonna call that right now. I think that's gonna happen.
Okay.
I think that's gonna be pretty cool. First person and in third person, calling it.
Yeah. Jeff, Brad, I don't know if you guys have any predictions coming up. I know you guys haven't been following the scene as closely.
I'm more one of those YouTube highlight guys. I just want the action.
Yeah.
So I got to work on that to get into the competitive scene, but I will. I'll work on that.
No,
TSM's going to win everything.
TSM's going to win everything.
Yeah,
I love the blind faith. It's not faith because it's TSM, not CLG. It's blind.
Exactly. We just know.
Blind assurance, right?
Yeah, I would say I don't want to discredit NPR. He is an amazing player and such a good like when we picked him up, that was such a great addition to the team. I really hope that communication issues aren't what causes this team to fail if they do fail. I hope that they can work past that, figure out the best way to play their game and play their game solidly. I would say, yeah, I could see Smack and Vis. Actually, I could see both of the duos doing really well. The only other team, and this carries into squads as well, the only other team that is filled with really talented players is Liquid. Liquid had tons of guys finishing really high in every game today in solos, and that scared me a little bit. And I could see a situation where you see Liquid sweeping duos and squads, but TSM has strong members and
Disney money, baby.
Disney money.
Dude, paid by Steve Holy
It's gonna
cow.
leak over. It's gonna leak over.
It already is.
Mhm.
Paid by Disney though. Yeah, I'm not really I'm not necessarily afraid. I could just I could see a world where Liquid sweeps in, or one of the Korean teams, because I definitely haven't been following them. If Korea pulls out some crazy strat for squads and duos, like another strat like today where they just go to Spawn Island and then just hang out in boats all day. But now that they've now that everyone,
Korean Yacht Club.
Korean yacht club.
hey, he can get one with his money. Now that everybody's seen Evermore and his strat, I think teams will at least be discussing how they're gonna play that. I really hope that the TSM duos, and I don't think that they would like hold their cards close to their chest. I hope they talk about how they're gonna approach duos. I hope that they can try not to get in each other's way. But if you drop at military base and the TSM duos are dropping in the same spot, in the name of competitive integrity, like grab that gun and gun down your bro, like the degenerate that he is.
Funky reference.
So the last thing that we have to talk about and predict and fun stuff like that. Does anyone else have predictions about TSM at GamesCon? Go TSM.
Yeah.
Go
Not at
TSM.
all.
Go break.
Perfect.
Break.
Go break.
Go break.
Go Vis. I'm a huge Vis fanboy. Anyways, I'm a Vis fanboy. So, but also break. I love them. So, they're all great. League of Legends, boys. We've got semifinals coming up on Sunday at whatever time it is. I don't have it off the top of my head. It's sometime between 12 and 4, depending on where you live. 12 and 3, I think, depending on where you live. Unless you're in Europe. Hey, by the way, shout out to all of our viewers who are from Europe, if there are any. We love you. And thanks for staying up late and watching the TSM games. So I had a couple questions. Because TSM has their world spot locked, a couple different scenarios open up. And the first question is, will Mr. Ralez get any playtime in the semifinals? Or if they win the semifinals, will he get any playtime in the finals? Yes or no?
I've been going back and forth with myself. Like I was just thinking like no, then I was like, well, maybe, but now I'm like no. I don't think adding. I mean, of course they've been living with him now for a week or two now, and they've been playing in game with him and stuff. But I really don't think adding another voice when you're still trying to win, even though your world spot is locked up, adding that other voice could hurt you a lot more than it could help you.
Especially when you have an 80 carry like Doublelift. He just won first place on the all NALCS team. He is essentially like, who are the two strongest players on TSM? Fucking Bjergsen and Doublelift. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is no reason to sub him out right now unless you're doing it for memes. And basically, I just don't. I as good as Mr. Ralez, I'm sure is. We've only been able to see him stream once or twice, and like we haven't seen him on a stage in I think over a year. So,
yeah,
who would you rather have? The person who's been playing with all split, or the person who hasn't been on stage in a while?
All right, let me pitch you a scenario. TSM goes into game 1, plays their normal TSM comp, Galio mid, whatever the heck they do, Zillion mid, and they stomp Dig. They go into game 2, same sort of stuff. Control mage and scaling 80 carry. They stomp game 2.
The classic.
Game 3, they've just stomped Dig like it wasn't even a contest. So like 16-2, 15-3. Do you put in Ralez in game 3 of the semifinals? Not even.
No, we lost to Dig both sets in the regular season. Even if we destroy games 1 and 2. I think we want to send a message to Dig with this series. I think we want to stomp them as hard as we can.
Okay. Okay.
Parth gets fired if that happens.
Yeah.
Reggie will fire Parth's ass and be like,
Wow.
"What the hell are you doing with my team?"
Hold on. Rallis is Danish, and you know how Reggie feels about them teams. So
Rollins subs in as coach.
Yeah. And here's the thing: have we? Isn't there is Splice all Danish? I'm trying to think of what team is Danish.
I think Splice is. I know Astral is. Our CS:GO team was all Danish. Our oldest being the new Astralis team. Our old CS:GO team was all Danish. I know Reggie does love his Danish people.
We have the opportunity to see 3 Danish players on a North American team.
Can they do that?
Yeah, because
Yeah, because,
Bjergsen got grandfathered in.
Okay, cool.
He's. I mean, I think I don't know what his citizenship is. I'm guessing it's still Denmark, but he's technically under NALCS rules, North American.
Cool.
And he could also. I know I read the rule book, season 6, because I'm that type of person, and I think he can play in North America, and he can also. It's like he's got dual citizenship, so he can technically claim, unless I'm completely mistaken, whatever. Call me out on that. I think there is a possibility if TSM stomps Dig 2 games in a row that they put Rallis in, and if they lose that game, I mean they've got 5 games, and if they mess up on one of those games, they have 2 more games. I mean. Okay, I mean, you guys might not like it, but I could definitely see a world where Rallis gets at least 1 game of playtime.
I just don't think I see Reggie doesn't let that happen. He's not that, like, he wants to shit stomp all the way through playoffs, and he's vividly told us that multiple times. Even when we were in the 6th seed, he was like, I want them to 3-0 everybody and just shit stomp people. Like, I think that if that happens, he literally loses his shit. Like, he goes, what the hell are we doing? Unless that was already pre-planned. If that was already pre-planned, then that's cool.
Let me bring up another scenario then. Okay, we get to Worlds. Doublelift has the same thing that happened last Worlds happen this Worlds. I really hope it doesn't happen. But would you rather have Rallis had at least some time on a decently large stage playing with the team? We know when Doublelift is like, I can't play against Alistar and like sub me out, Parth. Would you rather have Rallis had some time with the team on the stage, or like what's the situation there? You know?
Would you rather have 40-year-old Peyton Manning or 26-year-old Brock Osweiler leading your team to the Super Bowl?
I'll take Peyton every time.
No
I'm
matter
trying to think how that applies though.
Because no matter no matter how it is, Doublelift's already been with the team for how many years? He already has the experience under his belt. Yes, Rallis has been in the scene forever, but the more high pressure situations that Doublelift has been in, even if he's tilting off his ass, I think he's still better in that situation because of his experience. It's the same exact. I think that it's the same thing. It's like I would rather take 40-year-old Peyton Manning over a 26-year-old Brock Osweiler. Yes, he might be able to throw the ball the country mile, might be quicker than Peyton, but Peyton's got the mind. He's got the skill set already, and he's already can handle when there's 300-pound guys rushing, and he's gonna make that 40-yard pass. Same thing. Doublelift. If All-Star's coming at him, Doublelift's still gonna jump in and get that ADC kill to get that reset to jump out. Rallis might hesitate there for the second just because, and I'd rather take that honestly. I would.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's a fair point, Brad.
So, I don't know. Like I said, I'm back and forth. Like I could see Reggie putting him in. Now that you made a good point. Like if Doublelift has this like mental breakdown again, but also like if you're Reggie, you don't want to go into next spring with a fresh ADC. Like I'm pretty sure they said Rallis is an ADC sub and not a
academy
team. Yeah. But like if you have to use him, why not get him used to it earlier than wait until spring is what I'm thinking. But I can't. I
think it's a very fine line, and they're gonna get criticized no matter what they do because that's what happens in the community that we're in. I support them no matter what they do.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be hyped to see Rallis. I'd be hyped. One other thing I will say is new players coming onto TSM, and you know. Maybe this isn't always true, but a lot of new players, when they come onto TSM, they have huge games. Bjergsen's pentakill, Wild Turtle's pentakill, Doublelift coming on. Well, okay, that whatever, but still.
Steve Larbu playing the game.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, maybe we see a breakout game from Ralles if he gets any time. That discussion aside, what are you guys' thoughts on Dignitas, and how do you think TSM is going to fare against them? How do you think that matchup goes?
TSM 3-1.
3-1.
I like
that one game being the Ralles game.
No. Ralles is gonna win 3 games. Doublelift's gonna lose game 1.
Reggie's gonna be like, out. Get him out of here.
Reggie's gonna be like, you've had your 3 games to beat Dignitas and you haven't done it. Anyways, sorry.
No,
Memes aside.
I think Dig is better macro. Like, you've seen, excuse me, their Baron calls lately. Like, they have the boldest Baron calls maybe of any team in the league. And I don't know if TSM has the proper like vision right now to deal with that. Because, well, Sven's playing tank junglers now, so he'll probably build Tracker's Knife, and then maybe like after scrimming and watching last week's set, that they'll put emphasis on, okay, watch at 21 minutes they might try to go to Baron, but I think pretty much every other matchup, maybe besides bot lane, I don't know, Adrian and Altec have been pretty good. But I'm pretty sure TSM has the advantage in pretty much every matchup or every lane or position, whatever you want to say.
I mean, I don't want to hate on your boy Hanser.
I was about to hate on Hanser. What are you talking about? I was about to hate on
Hanser.
Someday.
Out of his mind.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think it's gonna happen, but I could totally see an argument for someday MVP, just because of the way that this Dig team has turned around and how he's been playing. Chris, take it away. Hate on Hanser. Do it.
Okay. I think TSM wins only by 3-2. And it's a back and forth the whole time, the whole series. This is going to be one of the key to winning this whole series isn't through top lane, isn't through mid lane. Actually, could be through mid lane, actually, because Keen, if he gets tilted by Bjergsen, I think Bjergsen could mess with him. And it's bottom lane. I'm going to say this right now. Bottom lane is going to be a null. Bottom lane's going to be a null. It's going to be back and forth that whole time. It's going to be one in the jungle, and it's going to be one in draft picks. If we can cut off Shrimp's draft picks and make them pick their dumb picks like Nocturne and those really off-meta picks, because that's exactly how OC9 did it in their one game. The one game that they won, they banned a bunch of banned off Shrimp's junglers, didn't let them pick Nunu. They had to pick Nocturne, and they lost. So, because... Dude, Hanser's going to get pooped on by someday. Hanser's going to he's going to do his normal level 1 bullshit and try to run into the bush and get caught, and then somebody's just going to constantly keep calling Shrimp up there, and that's going to happen first game. He needs to get that out of his system. The sooner the better. I'd rather do him first game than him do it game 5. It's going to happen, guys. I love the dude, but he's going to int at one game this series, he's going to int, and I hope it's the first game. But... Go ahead.
I was going to say, quick point. Your predictions last week both were wrong, so should I be worried?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that NB decided to show up.
I'm just messing.
You know what?
I mean, not to brag, but I called that NV game. Anyways, not NV. I called that Dig C9 series.
You did.
I still think Niski should have been rookie of the split after that series, after the playoff series.
Oh, man. Anyway, that aside, Jeff, what are your thoughts? Dig TSM.
I gotta agree with Brad. It's gonna be 3-1 for TSM, and basically what it comes down to is, you're right. Sunday's gonna destroy Hanser in the top lane.
It's gonna happen.
Bot lane's gonna be pretty even, which I still think it's gonna be a little bit TSM favored. But what the real difference is gonna come down to is going to be TSM's team play around jungle. They've been doing, especially last week, they've been doing a great job of shutting down junglers. Not last week, 2 weeks ago. Basically, I think that they are going to do a very good job of... I've noticed that Shrimp, when he has a proper game plan, early game, he can snowball off that very, very well. And basically, I think that now that we've seen their bag of tricks a bit, I think that's a huge advantage coming into it. And I think TSM is going to be able to use that knowledge to shut down Shrimp's early game. And as soon as you do that, I think bot lane is suddenly in TSM's favor by a pretty big margin. I think mid lane is in TSM's favor by a pretty big margin. I think top lane is not in TSM's favor by a margin, but I think it's going to come down to the point where they're going to shut down their early game hard enough, and then Haunter, while he does get shit on in lane sometimes, he is going to remain relevant, especially if you can get champions like Gnar, and he's going to team fight like a monster.
Urgot mid's gonna happen this week. Calling.
Oh.
Keen's picking Urgot mid. Waiting for the cheese. Some stinky cheese.
I think that this is going to be an interesting matchup. I think this is going to be a Maokai-sided matchup.
I think he's not going to make it through bans.
I could see him not making it through bans, but I could also see both teams. Yeah, I mean, both teams are going to have high priority on it because we know Haunter plays well. Obviously, Maokai has changed a bit since TSM days, but I mean, Haunter is a solid tank player. He's a solid tank player when that tank has initiation. We've seen him do it on Gnar. We've seen him do it. I mean, we've even seen him do it on Shen. We've seen him do it on Maokai. You know, you name it, and he's done it. And so I think the fact that this is a tank meta top lane and not necessarily like your like Aurelia, Trundle, like Fiors and stuff that we saw earlier on, I think that really kind of will help nullify the Haunter Someday lane. And I think if anybody is going to be up against Someday and have to go even with him, it's going to be Darshan in his form right now, or it's going to be Haunter. I would say even Flame. I mean, honestly, the top laners that are in the top 4 right now are all going to have pretty even matches here on out. And I honestly see this coming down to TSM's Achilles heel, which is cheese picks. We saw Dignitas beat TSM with a Singed. We saw TSM get beaten by Dignitas with the new jungle that they were like, what is going on? If Dignitas can prepare some like cheesy picks that TSM's not ready for, I could definitely see TSM dropping a game. That being said, TSM playoff buffs, TSM 3-0. Raleigh is not going in game 3.
Yeah.
They're taking this one. They're gonna give Dignitas the Immortals treatment, which is, you know, you want to pick a cheese? Well, we're gonna show you why that doesn't work. I would love to see, just for old time's sake, Haunter get. I would love to see a game where Haunter gets Maokai and Niski plays Lucian, just so we can see a semifinals match where TSM shuts down a Lucian again. That would be my fan favorite pick for this weekend. But I think TSM 3-0. I mean, you can't stop, even if you pick cheese, you cannot stop the script. And 10 times in a row into LCS finals is just too good of a story. Whew.
Another important thing that I think is going into the series is the patch 7.16. We've seen a lot of nerfs to champs like Orianna and Talia. I think that going into it, Bjerg's 2 best champions this split have been Syndra and Cassiopeia. If Bjerg gets on either of these champions, TSM wins the game.
Bjerg gets on Corki, we win.
I was gonna say even Corki.
Yeah,
Bjerg gets on Corki, we for game over. That thing's so OP broken right now. It's stupid.
And Syndra and Cassiopeia, they were the only ones that didn't get nerfed in any way. They just got changed. They had their numbers moved around a little bit. So right. I think that if he gets on, there are certain champions that if he gets on them, they just win straight up.
Yeah. I do agree with you guys. This game is won and lost in warding, especially with the way that Dig plays around Baron and the way that Dig has decent, like really good objective control. However, I mean, we saw Dig can get down. I mean, they lost game 3. Yes, they had the Nocturne, but game 4, Dignitas was down 10,000 gold. And that's a game that I don't see TSM losing. If TSM can play the early game well, get ahead, I think they can close out all 3 games.
Yeah, if Doublelift is up on Tristana like Sneaky was in that game, he doesn't lose the game.
Right.
Dude,
right.
Sneaky, that team fight was Sneaky, by the way. That was sick. So that was
sick. Yeah. It was sick. It was stupid. It was sick.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Okay, besides.
I had to check and make sure that Wild Turtle hadn't transferred to C9 for a second. It's like, what?
man.
Legendary Ash Flank? What?
What is this?
Sweet. Do you guys have anything else you want to say about this week? Remember, Smash, PUBG, League of Legends, check them all out. Anything else you guys want to say?
Oh, Mortals
Sure.
3-0 CLG doesn't even get a chance. That's where my shitstomp's coming
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, I agree
Yep.
100%.
And
Yeah, Immortals looked bad.
Or-
Just saying.
Yeah, CLG
Not
looked like
Mortals.
poo
CLG
poo.
looks bad.
CLG
MD
looked-
almost won, by the way. Whoever was watching that, that's a freaking told you guys. CLG's
Yeah.
garbage. Whatever.
Seraph getting drug kicking and screaming. Yeah. But
He carried CLG.
yeah, he just hard enough.
Here, Sven's gonna play Kane this weekend. I'm gonna say it. He's been spamming Kane in
Hell
solo
yeah.
queue
Ooh.
and Nunu, so he's probably gonna try to take that away. It could
Dang.
be a contested pick, but he's been
I-
spamming Kane.
Another pick that we haven't seen is or as much that I could totally see a comp that I could see TSM running is a I don't know what mid laner it would be. I would hope it would be like Zillion or something like that, but a Nunu Sivir with an Ardent Sensor support like a Nami or something like that. I mean, Nami's not the best, but that's one of the champs that Bio's been playing. So
Karma.
And he goes
Karma.
Gold
Lulu.
Quints. He goes to Gold Ruins. And then he just rushes Ardent Sensor and double if carries the game. An old school 80. Yeah, dude, an old school hyper carry comp. I would love that shit.
I mean, that's what we've seen. That's the bread and butter of like season 4 ADCs where like double if
Just
really
Sivir
was
comp
shining.
wall.
Just like Sivir comp. I mean, I could even see him picking Jinx again. And
I've
running
seen
that
Twitch. I
Tristana.
think he's been-
Kog'Maw, Twitch.
I've seen a few Twitch games on him in solo queue, and we haven't
Yeah.
seen him play it this split, but I think we're gonna see it this playoffs.
Yeah, I could definitely see double if going off in multiple games at multiple
Mhm.
times this split. Wow, this semifinals. So
Maybe even Vayne.
yeah,
I don't know if I'll see Vayne.
No, Vayne's
That's
boo boo.
different.
I don't.
Vayne's
With all-
boo-boo.
Vayne's better than people are giving her credit. I mean, she still gets fucking dicked in lane, but like, I think when it comes to this tank meta, I don't think that she can like get too bad. She's like really good in the late game. Essentially, still, she is better than in this meta. She's just better than she was, say, 5 patches ago.
she's just not as reliable as.
Mhm.
Yeah,
As a Jinx or a Sivir. Like a Sivir will dish out just as much damage from a much safer position,
Same thing with
Mhm.
Triss.
Like,
that's true.
a half screen away.
And
Mhm.
Triss has got the pushing power.
And yeah, Triss has a pushing power, also the escapes. If they pull it out, it would be like a game 3 pick.
Yeah.
Something like that. I would be excited
Double
if
would be
TSM
trolling.
has some crazy strat, but we all know it's TSM. They don't have crazy strats. They just play the game, which is completely fine.
Only if
But
they
Yeah.
tweet out.
They
If
play the game, they beat.
They only tweet that out, and they have to get so many relikes like Timo. It's the only
yeah,
way it
Timo.
happens.
Oh my god, I was so tilted that game. I don't even want to get into it.
I retweeted that like multiple times. I was trying to. I was like,
That's-
please give me this
I would have
shit.
played that Timo so differently. Anyway, cool. Well, I think that'll just about do it for episode 3. Again, all of you following with us and listening, drop subscribe if you're on YouTube. Drop a comment. We read them all like 2 of them that we had last week.
Thanks for the shout out
Hours.
from Kazu. Thanks for the shout out, big homie. I will
We
keep
wanna-
being me.
Yeah, we want to hear what you guys want to hear. We want to.
Mhm.
This is again, we're a podcast for the TSM community. Tell us what you want to hear. We'll take most suggestions
Constructive
realistically.
criticism. Remember that. That's
Yeah.
the word of the
Remember-
week, guys. Reddit. That's the word of the
remember the
week.
human.
Constructive criticism. Learn it. Okay. Look it up. Dictionary it. Google it. You're welcome.
Dictionary.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome. Sweet. I think with that, we're gonna sign off from all of us here at the TSM Fan Hub. No, I'm not gonna do an exit like that. That sounds cheesy.